What is going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I am here today to make my roster video for you because it's obviously cut down day, and the Dolphins had to get down to the 53-man roster. There are 16 roster spots. Those six spots are for players that are over 2 years in the league. Otherwise, the 10 roster spots are the normal rules, right? Because you can only spend a couple years on with practice squad eligibility. But they have the COVID rules in place, so there is that. So we will have to. So keep in mind, we will have to wait and see, if some of these players and who ends up making it to the practice squad. That will be contextual information, especially when it comes to certain draft picks who were cut today. Because I am going to be discussing that. And so before I get to the roster cuts and the moves that the Dolphins made, they literally just released it. So they were like a little over an hour past the deadline. But we have it now, and I'm about to pull it up. Before I do, though, I do want to mention that the Patriots actually released Cam Newton. So they are going with Mac Jones in week 1. And I think actually Stephon Gilmore was put on the PUP list. So they're going to be missing Stephon Gilmore for that game, which actually helps our odds, obviously. And so that's good news for the Dolphins. Hopefully he's okay. I never want to see any player get hurt or whatever. So hopefully he's okay there. But that's obviously good news for the Dolphins week 1. For the, I think that as far as the quarterback goes, obviously, look, there's an obvious difference between a veteran and a rookie, and there's things like that, right? But to me, and Cam is obviously more of a threat with his legs, you would think, than Mac Jones would be, but and can Mac Jones, read defenses as well at this point in his career, et cetera, right? So you have these different factors that are absolutely true. But I've been saying this whole time that they're going to be a run-heavy team anyway. And so I expect them to do that. That's what they're going to be. That's what they're going to have Mac Jones do mostly, I'm thinking. Otherwise, it's going to be, short, easy completions, right, and stuff like that. So they're not going to rely on Mac Jones in this first game. And that's why, it happened yesterday, and so I'm going to, spoil the surprise a little bit, although everybody already knows. Cutting Benardrick McKinney was a stupid move to make for that reason, right? Not to mention, you traded for him. You get rid of Shaq Lawson, you bring him in. So now I get also, Shaq Lawson got traded to the Jets, by the way. So that was interesting as well. The Texans traded him to the Jets. But, so we don't have Shaq Lawson. We don't have Benardrick McKinney anymore, who is a big reason why I had confidence that our run defense was going to improve. Now I've been shaken on that confidence a little bit because why would you get rid of and it's not like he wasn't killing it in camp. They already shook him down for 2 years on his contract to save money. Then what, to just cut him and then lose out on that huge piece for your defense? Like, I don't know. It doesn't make any goddamn sense to me, especially since we have to face the Patriots week 1, who are going to be a run-heavy team. So, back to the Mac Jones thing. I don't think it actually, it could be. It certainly could be an advantage for us, especially with our defense and a cornerback like Xavier Howard, for example, going up against Mac Jones. Absolutely. And who knows, maybe Xavier Howard gets a pick in that game, right? But the thing is, that's my point, is I think those mistakes are largely going to be either mitigated or negated because of how they, their game plan for the game, right? They're going to be a run-heavy offense throughout the entire year, but, especially early on and especially against us. They're going to be run-heavy. So, and even without Gilmore, they still do have a really good defense. So, it's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. All right, now let's actually get to the Dolphins. So, we're going to go over here to the actual, this is from the Dolphins, as you can see on Dolphins.com, roster moves. Dolphins announce roster moves August 31st. So, first and foremost, Larnell Coleman Dolphins announced today that they have placed the following player on injured reserve. So Larnell Coleman ends up going to injured reserve today. So that means the 7th round tackle that we took. So the offensive line loses yet another player. Eichenberg is banged up, right? And they cut some offensive linemen today. They cut Skura yesterday, right? So this offensive line just gets weaker and weaker and weaker, and it was already one of the weakest spot on the entire team, and it just keeps getting weaker. It just keeps getting weaker. So anyway, we'll get through more of that. But so Larnell Coleman, and it's from the reporting I've seen, it's season ending too, because he has to get knee surgery. So fuck, man. All right, so let's get to it. The team released the following players. Josh Harvey-Clemens, linebacker, not really a surprise there. Cre'Von LeBlanc, it's not a total surprise, but it's somebody who, if you saw when Alan Poupard did his 53, and then I read through it, and it was on one of the last couple days of training camp, and I used that as a template, and then, basically just made the changes. Well, Cre'Von LeBlanc is somebody that I would have kept. But it's not a super, surprise move or anything like that. Benardrick McKinney, though, I mean, Jesus Christ. Why is fucking Benardrick McKinney not on this roster? That's a complete fucking shocker, and to me doesn't make any sense. Adam Pankey, so that is another offensive lineman gone, but not really a surprise, and he played like fucking hot garbage. So, as far as I'm concerned. So, not a big deal there. But then they get rid of Matt Skura and Cameron Tom. 2 guys that you were expected to be the backup center. Now, yes, okay, I get it. And people were like, oh, well, they just traded for Mance. And, so that put the writing on the wall. And I get it that Skura has had his issues and stuff like that. But if not Skura, then you would expect Cameron Tom to be the guy to back up Dieter. At least up to this point, right? That's what everybody was talking about. But now it looks like the guy's going to be Mance, who just got here yesterday. So, okay, I guess. And the dude's not even that good. Apparently, right? He just, I don't know, bro. He does. I don't have the. Let me see if I can find it. But I don't have the. I might be able to find it. I was gonna say, but I don't. At this particular moment, man, I don't have the details in front of me. But he hasn't played very much, and he hasn't done much of shit. I don't know. One interesting thing though that I did hear is that he also happens to be Deshaun Watson's old center. I hear that he used to play with Deshaun Watson, which is just an interesting little thing. Anyway, I can't find it. But so anyway, that's apparently who's going to be backing up Dieter. Additionally, the team waived the following players. So Javaris Davis, not a total surprise there, although somebody who was having a really good camp and certainly did make a name for himself throughout. And could have been a potential keep. Jared Dokes has been cut, so we will see. Now, this is a player that I do expect to make it to the practice squad. I think that they're going to bring him back and put him on the practice squad, and I don't think that he showed enough. Look, the Dolphins picked him in the 7th round. He was their last pick of this year's draft. But Larnell Coleman's on the motherfucking on IR. So, he's not going anywhere this year. But if Garrett Dokes doesn't come back and make it onto the practice squad, at least that'll be 3 straight years where the Dolphins cut one of their rookie draft picks. It'll be 3 straight years that they do that. So let's hope that doesn't happen, and let's hope he does make it back to the practice squad. But he is one of their draft picks, and I think they like him, maybe, enough to bring him to the practice squad. And I don't think he showed enough that another team's going to pick him up. So I do think he will clear waivers. So hopefully he makes it to the practice squad, and hopefully it doesn't continue that trend, because if he does clear waivers and then they don't bring him back, well, then they just don't like him and they just gave up on a 7th round pick, and that'll be 3 straight years that they cut one of their rookie draft picks. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope he does make it back to the practice squad and, has some more time. But they did cut him at this point, so there is that. And, he is one of those guys, one of those draft picks that I said could be, one of their cuts. Tino Ellis, he had a solid camp again. But not a total surprise here. Shaquem Griffin is a little bit of a surprise, especially because we do need, that linebacker depth does not, again, depth on this entire roster is a concern for me, but linebacker depth definitely needs help, and they got rid of Shaquem Griffin and Benardrick McKinney, 2 of the top contenders, I felt, for the roster to begin with. Nate Holley, not a surprise there at safety. Kylan Johnson at linebacker, not a surprise there. Benito Jones, a little bit of a surprise, although this may be a dude that ends up on the practice squad as well. Same thing possibly with Patrick Laird at running back and Jonathan Ledbetter at defensive end, and maybe even Kai Loxley at wide receiver. All players I think that could potentially make it to the practice squad. They got rid of Khalil McLean, not a surprise. This next one, though, is not only a surprise, but they're fucking morons. Because they fucking cut Kirk Merritt, and goddamn it, dude, I cannot imagine that Kirk Merritt is going to survive waivers. They would be so lucky if Kirk Merritt survived waivers and they were able to place him on the practice squad. Now, he could still end up getting poached from the practice squad later, but which is also, something to keep in mind. But the fact that they cut him, just another mind-blowingly stupid move. Just like the McKinney move. That's how I feel about it. So Calvin Munson, not a total surprise, but if you watch that video with me, that he was an edge player, he would have been like, the 51, 52, 53. He would have been, one of the very edge players to me that made it for linebacker depth, but it is what it is. Tight end Chris Myarick. He could come back to the practice squad. Chris Myarick at tight end, not a total surprise, and could come back to the practice squad. Malcolm Perry. So, it's not a surprise because there was a ton of depth in that room, but it is another one of the Dolphins draft picks. So, 7th round pick from last year has now been cut, right? They actually cut in total three of their recent draft picks. We haven't even gotten to one of them, right? So, but we will. So, and to be fair though, Malcolm Perry is another player that is actually expected to make it to the practice squad. So the Dolphins want to bring him back. He just has to, from what what I can tell and what I've read and whatever, it seems like the Dolphins want to bring him back and put him on the practice squad. He just has to survive waivers. So unless another team snags him, he should make it back to the practice squad. But if he doesn't, or if they don't bring him back, then, well, that's another one of the Dolphins' recent draft picks that they cut. And look, I've been telling you guys, when we got down to the 53-man roster, there was a very real possibility that, I had a list of a total of 5 players, I believe it was, that I said could possibly get cut. Included on that list were Michael Dieter, Jason Strourbridge, Blake Ferguson, I actually had 6 because Blake Ferguson, so Blake Ferguson was on that list. Malcolm Perry, Larnell Coleman, and Garrett Dokes. So, hold on. Dieter, Strourbridge, Ferguson, Perry, Coleman, and Dokes. Yeah, 6. So, Dieter obviously came off that list but those were potentials. What I said was realistic though was maybe 2 or 3 of these guys gets cut. Obviously not all of them. So Dieter obviously came off that list because he ended up being the starting center. We'll see if he turns out to be good or not, right? Jason Strourbridge was on that list. We haven't gotten to him yet, so just a minute on that. Blake Ferguson was on that list, but he obviously came off because, they did a little teeter-totter with Rex Sunahara. They had him, then cut him, then brought him back, then cut him again. But eventually they cut him and he stayed cut. So that secured Blake Ferguson's job. He came off. But then you had Malcolm Perry, Larnell Coleman, and Garrett Dokes. Well, Larnell Coleman comes off the list because he just got placed on injured reserve. So he's just going to sit there for the entire season, right? Most likely. I mean, there is some chance they could cut him. And give him some kind of injury settlement or whatever, but I doubt that. He's just going to stay parked on the injured reserve because they don't have to do anything. He's a draft pick. They can find that he showed some good things in preseason, and they can just have him for next year. He is having knee surgery though, so we'll see how that turns out. But anyway, he comes off the list. So the 3 cut eligibles then become Jason Strourbridge, Malcolm Perry, and Garrett Dokes. Well, they've cut 2 of those so far, as we've seen. But again, Malcolm Perry is at this point expected to make it back to the practice squad. Durval Quiros Neto, he's listed as a guard. He was originally a defensive tackle. But he's obviously the player from Brazil that we got, and we have a roster exemption for him because of that. And my expectation is, and from what I've seen, the Dolphins want to put him back on the practice squad, although he doesn't count towards the total, right? So let's see, Tyshun Render, defensive end, again another player that can make it to the practice squad. Not really a surprise. They did announce that yesterday, or it was announced yesterday, not officially by them. Jordan Scarlett, again, could make it to the practice squad. Reed Sinnett, quarterback, is expected to make it to the practice squad unless he gets claimed on waivers. So hopefully he doesn't. Although he could, man. Some team absolutely could claim Reed Sinnett. So, but here we go. Jason Strourbridge. There he goes. Gets cut. And then Carl Tucker. So those are the moves today that get us down to the 53-man roster. And, like I said, most of them not really a surprise. Most of those were expected. I mean, look, Trill Williams made it, which was cool, and he was a player that I thought should, But look, the big surprises there, and obviously Mance is on the team. Greg Little's on the team. So, Jesus Christ, though, man. Like, that's the thing. So the offensive line is expected to be Jackson, Kinley, Dieter, Hunt, and Davis as of right now. Eichenberg is here, and he showed some solid things. He had his ups and downs, but he showed some solid things at certain times at right tackle. But he's also injured with a shoulder injury and a leg injury, right? And then you have Greg Little, which, he had some good moments in training camp, yeah, but his overall body of work so far in the NFL has been pretty tragic. Then you have Greg Mance, who hasn't really done much of shit in the league. These are your backups, man, and bro, that offensive line is just, it scares the shit out of me. I'm just keeping it real. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett is your backup. You have, for running back, you have, Malcolm Brown, Ahmed, and Gaskin are expected. You have tight ends. Let's see. I mean, they kept Gesicki, Shaheen, Long. That's 3. Gesicki, Smythe. So they have at least 4. Sathan Carter too, it appears, has made the roster. Although he might technically be listed as a fullback or even possibly a running back. Wide receiver, obviously, you got Fuller, Parker, Wilson, Waddle, Preston Williams, Jakeem Grant made the roster. I mean, I would have kept Kirk Merritt over Jakeem Grant for sure. And cutting, Benardrick McKinney, absolutely stupid. I don't know, bro. So we'll see, man. We'll see how this all plays out. I mean, that's really it. That is the cuts. That is the cuts. And I think there are some stupid ones. And, you know, they did cut, you know, stupid ones like Benardrick McKinney and Kirk Merritt. They cut, you know, good players, you know, that could possibly make it to the practice squad, like, you know, Reed Sinnett. I hope he does as our practice squad quarterback. And, you know, as you know, another developmental quarterback or whatever. Malcolm Perry, I hope he does, because he has shown some good things. Although, and he was a draft pick, I don't want them to, you know, fail on yet another draft pick. Because look, let's say, worst case scenario, Strawbridge, Perry, and Dokes all do not make it back to the practice squad. That means then they have cut 3 rookie draft picks 3 years in a row. That means they will also have cut a total of 2, 4, 6 of their draft picks from the past 3 years. Already, just in the first 3 years, they will have already cut 6 draft picks. I mean, that would be outrageous. That would be outrageous. It would just be so bad. It would be so bad. Anyway, not to mention, because, you know, a lot of these other players also just really need to prove that they've even been worth it, right? And even first rounders like Austin Jackson and Noah, right? Like, you know, Christian Wilkins still needs to prove more, right? Michael Dieter, he's been a surprise for, you know, everybody, myself included, but he's still super unproven, right? I mean, Jalen Waddle's looking like he's going to be, you know, great, but he's been getting nicked up super early, and I'm worried about that. Jalen Phillips, too, has been super nicked up early on. Javon Holland, nicked up early on. Like, Eichenberg, Hunter Long, Larnell Coleman, literally the entire draft class from this year has been sustaining early injuries. Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, Liam Eichenberg, Hunter Long, and Larnell Coleman have all sustained minor to serious injuries early on. I mean, it's just fucking, it's outrageous. All right, anyway. We have to wait and see, bro. And look, there's a little under 2 weeks until the start of the season, man. So it's going to be a little slow between now and then, right? There's not going to be a ton to talk about because, you know, cuts are done. I mean, unless the Dolphins did end up trading for Deshaun Watson or something like that, you know, or maybe like some other big trades or surprise cuts or whatever, right? Barring any of that stuff, there's not going to be much information. Because are they practicing? Yeah, they're practicing, but there's not really going to be much news. It's not open to the public. You know, media can only say but so much, right? So, like, and then next week, they're starting to prepare for the Patriots. I mean, my guess is that this week they're doing a lot more of their playbook installs. And then they're also probably going to use it as an extra week to start preparing for their first week opponent. If they were smart, they would do that. That's what I would do. But either way, next week for sure is going to be preparation for that first game against the Patriots. And then that Sunday we play them. So, yeah, for which I will be doing a live stream, you know, because I want to be able to, at the very least, even if I have nobody to talk to, I still want to, you know, record my live reaction to it. I probably will have Reason's reaction, you know, just up on a tab or whatever. And I wish I had a second monitor. I don't have that right now, but I wish I had a second monitor so I could, you know, dual monitor this shit. But anyway, unfortunately, I don't. So I'll probably just have his up on a tab just so I can stay linked in. And, you know, with the peeps and stuff like that. But I am going to do a live stream for it. So let's get ready, man. It's going to be interesting. I don't think that that's going to be just a pushover, easy win like a lot of Dolphins fans think. But we will get to that once we get, you know, into the Patriots week. and start, at some point I'll make my make my video doing my prediction for that. Although, for the most part, I've already kind of told you guys what I expect. I actually think it's going to be a relatively defensive heavy game overall, and I think it's just going to come down to which team's offense can be a little bit more efficient. So but in that breakdown video, I'll actually give you unit by unit who I think, which team I think has the advantage. And Stephon Gilmore being out is actually a huge deal. So, and that helps our odds. So, but yeah, anyway, with that, guys, I am going to go ahead and get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. Of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.